Let us begin Be'ezus Hashem and continue our quest into a little bit of Hilchas Chanuka. So we spoke a little bit about previously about when to light, where to light in some way. Of course, there's endless amount of different shitas and different ideas of where to light. And obviously, when people come in with shyness of, can you tell me where to light, please? It doesn't work that way. There needs to be pictures. You need to see. You need to understand. Every entrance is different. Every knisa has. In Eretz Yisrael, in Chutz Yisrael, light by the windows, like is in whatever chassidim, the door, table, whatever. But here in Eretz Yisrael, it is a little bit more complicated. But and you get to your local Orthodox rabbi, you'll figure it out where to light Be'ezus Hashem. Hopefully before Purim we'll get to your Shaila, we'll talk about it. Now let's talk about some of the other Shailas that we have to get to. And that is, one of the Shailas we mentioned was the Issa Hana. That we know, Shulchan Aruch in the beginning of Siman Tofei Shain Gimel says that there's an Issa to benefit from the candles. That means that it is actually forbidden for a person to have any Hana from the neighbors of Chanukah. It's completely opposite to Shabbos Kodesh. Shabbos Kodesh Faket, mamash, the whole Indian is dafka to have Hana. That's the whole reason why we light Shabbos candles, is Shalai Koshel, Shalom Beisa, whatever it is in the Gemara, but the idea is to get Hana. Over here the idea is not to get Hana. We don't want to get Hana from the candles. We simply want to light them, cover the mitzvah, cover the nei, zeichel neis, whatever it is, pesum and nisa v'chulei. Now the Mishnah Berurah brings two reasons. The Mishnah Berurah says two reasons why we're not allowed to have Hana from the candles. Number one, says the Heilige Chofetz Chaim, it shows clearly I'm lighting them l'tzoirech mitzvah and not for my personal Hana, which you have to remember was probably more applicable, Yudala, in the days of Chazal when they didn't have electric lights and candles were normal things that they used to light. So when they lit a candle, it was like, oh, I guess you need to read, or I guess you need to write, or I guess you need to see something. So when you lit the Chanukah menorah, it had to be clear that you were not doing it for that purpose. If you don't get Hana, then you show that clearly is the purpose. Nowadays, obviously, it's a little bit more difficult because nobody generally is lighting candles, right? So if you light candles, I don't think it looks so much like you're doing it for Hana, but upon him, that's one of the reasons that the Mishnah Berurah tells us. And the second reason the Mishnah Berurah says is because it came from the Manu in the Beis Hamikdash. In the Beis Hamikdash, of course, we know that it was also to have Hana from the Ner in the Beis Hamikdash. Therefore, it's also to have Hana from the Ner of Chanukah. And that means Mishnah Berurah asks a kasha, and he says, but don't we light more lights than we need to light? In other words, we learned previously that the Ikka Mitzvah is really one light. So on day number 2 and onwards, I'm lighting automatically more than I need to anyway. So why can't I, on day number 2, let me have Hana from the candles? Because anyway I'm lighting 2, which only Mahadrin and Mahadrin. Mahadrin and Mahadrin, let me have Hana. Chofetz Chaim says, no, doesn't make a difference. Each night also has its mitzvah, and that's the mitzvah of that night, Mahadrin and Mahadrin. Mamela, even on the second night and onwards, you cannot get any Hana whatsoever. By the way, Hana over here does not only mean l'tzoirech chol, like the Lashon of Chazal, which is counting money, doing something mundane, but even something that's got kedusha. Let's say I want to say Tehillim, or let's say I want to learn, or let's say I want to do something l'tzoirech mitzvah, right? So the Shabbos, whatever. It's still going to be also for a person to do that. Using it, says the Aruch HaShulchan, is a bizoyin to the mitzvah. So a person cannot use it whatsoever. The Pri Chodosh asked the kasha, does that mean that even distant Hana is also? That means, do I have to close my eyes when I shouldn't look at the cat? How does it work? So the Pri Chodosh says, which is also a Shatzim, which is also a Shari Tshuva, says very clearly that distant Hana is no problem whatsoever, and you can look at it and forget you meant to look at it, and it does Gavaldik Azir Zachan Al Pika Bola for anyone that looked at something they shouldn't look at. Looking at the candles helps that tremendously, but upon him, distant Hana is a Gavaldik Hana, and that's okay. But we're talking about Hana in a physical way of seeing something which I couldn't have done beforehand. Somebody asked once, Rabbi Nissan Karelitz Zatzal, so in Eretz Yisrael, where people have glass boxes, right? People buy glass boxes, they put them outside. The top of the box gets very, very hot, right? Especially on the 8th night, right? Even on the 4th night, 5th night, you've got a bunch of candles in a small place, especially if you're sharing it with 2 people. The top of the box gets boiling hot, Tully, right? So somebody once asked from Nissan Karelitz, I would like to warm up my donut while I'm outside. It's geschmack to have a nice, warm, fresh donut. So you take the donut, which is stale, and you put it onto the top of the box, right? That was the now, right? So you put it on top of the box and you want to heat it up, right, Yosef? I don't want to, it's geschmack to have a nice warm jam, jelly. It's geschmack to have that, right? Is that called Hana from the neighbors? So the Meister of Nissan Karelitz says our paskin that would be asa. that you're not allowed to, that's called getting hana for the neiris, that is problem. They once asked Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal, are you allowed to take pictures by the neiris? Or is that considered to be hana from the neiris? And Reb Chaim Kanievsky said there is no problem with that whatsoever. That is absolutely fine. In fact, they asked Rav Vosner Zatzal that they used to have candles, maybe they still do, that used to give off like a nice smell. So you used to light them, and at the same time they gave off like a nice geschmacka smell. Okay, so are you allowed to smell those nice candles, or is that considered to be hana? And Rav Vosner Lamaisa paskin that's mutter, that you are allowed to smell those candles. Okay, so that is number one, legabe the halachos of hana. Let's move on, Rabbi Isai. Reuven, you ready? Ner lener. Are you allowed to light? Now, in a minute, we'll go to the halachos of what happens if a candle goes out. Samach, good morning. It's an afkamina, whether it goes out b'shas hadlaka or after hadlaka, we'll talk about it. But in the meantime, can I light one candle to another candle? Sometimes it's so much more geschmack than lighting a match or starting with a shamash. I'll just take one candle, I'll just dip it with the other one, and there I have two candles that are lit. Am I allowed to light miner lener? So the Shulchan Aruch again, Tofeshain Dalet Sif Aleph, says very clearly, even though some hold it's mutter to light miner lener from candle to candle, the halacha is, and the Ramah paskins, that the minig is, as I paskin the Ramah, the minig is that we do not light miner lener when it comes to Chanukah, even though other mitzvahs we generally would light from. By Ner Chanukah, the Ramah paskins that we do not do that, and that's what it is. And the Ramah brings a whole pshat because be'ikar then is only one is the mitzvah, and therefore I can't light from the other one. Fine, whatever it is. Now, for all the above reasons that we have just been speaking about in the last few minutes, that's the reason why the Shulchan Aruch in Tofeshain Gimel says that a person should light a shamash. That's the reason we should light an extra candle, which is normally specifically separated from the rest of the candles, either by height or by distance away from the candle, specifically to show that this is not one of the neiris of Chanukah. This is a shamash, right? And the shamash is specifically done so that now, if I do have hana, I'm having hana from the shamash, and having hana from the shamash is absolutely fine without any problem whatsoever. In that case,
if you go back to the donut question, can you still do that?
I guess if it was possible to have hana from the shamash alone, then maybe it would be okay.
It wouldn't be nearly enough.
So then, obviously not then. Meaning if one candle would not do what you need to accomplish, and 6 of them do, then you're getting hana from the candles. No, then that's not going to help you. That's not going to help you. But if, for example, one candle or 2 candles are not going to make a major difference if I can see the text inside, it will help a little bit. But one allows me ready to do that, and that's the shamash. So once I've one candle, I can basically see the text. 2 makes it a bit more geschmack. So that's the Tosefas, right? We're not mechoyev, according to what you're saying, it would come out that you should light as many shamoshim as candles, just so that it's like one keneged one. But we don't do that, because one is enough. Nele Echa, Nele Meya, the Gemara says on Shabbos. Anyway, the point is, that's the reason why we light the shamash. What's that?
Didn't the Baba ever have a candle that moved?
I don't know what the Baba Rebbe did, and I don't know if we're trying to copy that either, because I have no idea.
Shamash is
Dafka closer to him.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to get hana from it to show the okay, could be. We have obviously a Meister Rav from the Heilige Baba Rebbe, I'm not sure which one, and he bought the shamash. Oh, that was dangerous. No. Okay. No. Rewind. Take that back. Cut. Okay. Next. Okay. So that's why we're at the shamash. Let's move on. Rabbi say. There's a machlokes in the Gemara. Everyone here is familiar with the machlokes. Machlokes in the Gemara in Shabbos Chav Gimel. Whether or not, what's the psak if a candle goes out? Look it up. What if a candle goes up? It goes out. So we have a machlokes in the Gemara, famous machlokes in the Gemara, which, by the way, all the Muslims for him. Look at the Bnei Sascha. The Heilige Bnei Sascha is when it comes to Chanukah, when it comes to this shtickle over here in the Gemara Chaf Aleph and Shabbos, goes Gewalt, unbelievable. We paskin hadloka isa mitzvah. Okay? Zevi, you with me? Hadloka isa mitzvah means what? Means the mitzvah over here of Chanukah is not to have candles lit. That's not the mitzvah. Davy. The mitzvah is to light. The lighting is the mitzvah. Okay? Hadloka isa mitzvah means the hadloka is the mitzvah. So for example, one nafkamina, by the way, Ben, means, let's say my halacha is that I need to light outside. It's too cold outside, I don't want to spend time. So I'm going to light inside. I'll light inside, Geshmak with all the mishpacha, we'll light, we'll sing, and then I'll take the menorah in the box and I'll just put it outside. You're not going to be yotze then. Why? Because hadloka isa mitzvah means that the moment you light the menorah, you are now yotze the mitzvah. True, there needs to be a minimum share of half an hour that needs to be lit for, but that's just a share in the mitzvah. But the mitzvah is hadlaka isa mitzvah. According to that, and again, some machlokes in the Gemara, but we paskin la halacha kofsa ein zokukla. That means if it goes out, you do not have to relight the candle. Rabbi, so listen to this, because this is something that's nageh. You guys are lighting outside. It's windy outside. We'll talk about wind in a minute. 1 second. Let's just get through the halachas. We'll see very shaila afterwards. Just by the way, to give you a heads up, I'm sure you guys will see it inside, but when you learn the Bnei Yissaschar on this shtickle, his whole yisoid of how he understands the Gemara al Pidrush is that in Yiddishkeit, Ben, it's just about trying. That's what it is. I lit it, I tried, and that's it. It goes out. That's not my problem. I did the best that I could do. And that's the best that I could do. What am I meant to do? I'm not I can't make it stay lit. Obviously, we're talking about lighting in a place where it could remain lit. I'm not talking about lighting it outside in the very big wind and say, well, what can I do? Well, obviously, you knew it was going to go out. I'm talking if I'm lighting it in a regular way, Zev, and it goes out, I'm not mechoyer to relight it. Kovza ein zakagla, big yisoid al pi musa, al pi drush, the heilige Bnei Yissaschar, Yiddishkeit, just about trying, just do your best, just light the candle, don't worry, do a bunch and we'll do the rest. And there's a lot to discuss about that we're not going to go into. It's all about the ishtadlus, it's all about trying, right? That's the famous Maisa of the guy. 2 guys had a competition to try and climb up the very, very tall buildings. Very, very tall building. And I don't know, it was 100 floors, whatever it was. You can imagine after, I think there was actually a few people actually trying to do this competition. After a few minutes, the first guy, after like 3 stories, was like, I haven't breathed, I'm doing sports, I smoke, it's gefährlich. After three stories, he was out. The next guy made it to like number 10, which was pretty good. Then he said, that's it, I'm out. And then a few guys continued. Only one guy made it to the end. And when he came back down, they said to him, I don't understand. How'd you do this? Like, it was impossible. There's no way you ran up those stairs. It's impossible. I made it to like number 30. How'd you get further? He said, very simple. I got to the floor 35, and there was an elevator after that. I just took the elevator to the top. It was very, very simple, right? The idea is that you have to try. That's what Yiddishkeit's all about. You have to try in life. The Rebbeinu Shalom takes care of the rest, but you have to do your part. That's what this is all about. Anyway, that's already Al-Pi Drush that we're not going into now. It's a different Shaila, which we're not going into. Let's move on. The Mishnah Berurah says, however, if you light in a place where there is wind and you know it's going to go out, then you can't say this pshat and you have to relight it, right? Because then, so it says the Heilige Chofetz Chaim, it's ki'ilu you lit with not enough oil. We know the halacha, by the way, Hadlaka Isa Mitzvah tells us that if you light with a small amount of oil that would not light for a minimum share of half an hour, and you add the oil afterwards, that's not going to be good. Because Hadlaka Isa Mitzvah, in B'shas Hadlaka, that has to be the share of the mitzvah, which is half an hour. So too says the Chofetz Chaim, if you light in a place where you know the wind is going to put it out, and it does, then you have to relight it. In that case, you can't say kofsa in zakukla in that case over there. In that case over there. Okay, so that's going to be the halacha over there. Erev Shabbos, by the way, you had a question?
With the bracha, or you related?
No, without a bracha. Very good question. Excellent question.
According to halacha, you would be able to put that. If you light and then you realize after runs,
I want to talk about that in a minute. Very good question. Excellent. One before we get to there, Erev Shabbos Kodesh. Erev Shabbos, by the way, is a more interesting shaila because we're lighting much before the Zman. Because we have to remember, on Erev Shabbos, you're lighting, in fact, in Yerushalayim, we know the minig of Yerushalayim, which, by the way, comes from very interesting sources, which we're not going into now, is to light 40 minutes before the Zman. 40 minutes before Shkia is the Zman Adlokas Haneros. As far as I'm aware, there's nowhere in the world that has a Zman of 40 minutes before. Most places are PVRA and whatever, we're not going into that, is 18 minutes before. Right? Go look in most places in Chutz La'aretz, it's 18 to 20 minutes, they write Hadlokas Haneros before the Zman. And in most places in Eretz Yisrael, that's the din. In Yerushalayim, it's 40 minutes. How that came about, it's a different shaila. Are you mechuyev to do mini Yerushalayim? Different shaila. What's that?
How long till Nacht?
No, Shkia. We're talking about Shkia now. Okay, 40 minutes before Shkia is this money in Yerushalayim. Now, if that's the case, when am I lighting Neiros Chanuka? Because at the end of the day, we still need to daven mincha. We still need to do a bit of Kabbalah Shabbos. These things have to go on before Nacht. So if that's the case, people generally light much closer to the Zman than they would normally. In other words, even, especially as the man is doing Neiros Chanukah and the woman is doing the Shabbos candles, but people light much closer to Shkia because they want it to remain lit Shabbos Kodesh. At the end of the day, it's very nice to light Erev Shabbos, but if they go out after 5-10 minutes, then Shabbos came in and your lights weren't lit. You didn't have Chanukah there. That was done. So that's really the shaila. What happens if Erev Shabbos, your neighbors go out? Do we say the same thing? Shulchan Aruch says very clearly in the beginning of Simon Tov Shain Gimel, see base, that if it goes down Erev Shabbos, you do not have to relight it. Even though when Shabbos comes in Tuli, it's not going to be lit. Says the Mishnah Berurah, what's Pshat? It's Erev Shabbos, it's not Shabbos, I'm lighting for Shabbos. Normally we light Chanukah Neiros after Nacht, when Nacht comes in, either by Shkia, by Tzeis, by the Tam, whatever you hold as the Zman. Here we're lighting way before that. We're lighting on day number 6 for day number 7. Or whenever obviously Chanukah falls out. You understand what I'm saying, Itzi? Right, I'm lighting early. So why don't I have to relight? Says the Mishnah Berurah, because this is the Zman. Well, obviously we're not mechuyev to light it on Shabbos Kodesh Chas v'Shalom. So Memela, this Erev Shabbos became the Zman. So Memela, once I light Erev Shabbos, I lit. I was Oitza. I went out. That's not my problem in that case. Aber Lemaisa, Mishnah Berurah brings a Taz, and that says no. If you have not yet been the Kabbalah Shabbos, then you're mechuyev to relight without a bracha, obviously. That's how the Mishnah Berurah brings this Taz, and then the Mishnah Berurah says it's roy to relight it on Erev Shabbos. If you are already been the Kabbalah Shabbos, so you can ask someone else that has not yet been the Kabbalah Shabbos. That's the Pri Megadim, which, by the way, you're allowed to do that in a general way. If you've been the Kabbalah Shabbos, you can always ask somebody else to do a malacha for you, which is a whole different shaila of Amir al Yisrael, which we're not going into at this moment of time. By the way, interesting shaila. Kovza ein zokukla. This that we paskin, that if it goes out, I don't have to relight it. Is that one candle or all the candles? Is there enough kamina, Yosef, if one of the candles go out, or if all of the candles? Okay? So the general halach is, the Be'alacha brings this in Tofei Shain Gimel, and he says, in order to mekayim the mahadrin min mahadrin, I need all of the candles to be lit b'shas adlaka, which means while I'm lighting, one of them goes out, I have to relight it. Because hadlaka is a mitzvah, I'm oisik in the mitzvah, so that calls one I'm oisik in the mitzvah, I'm still getting the mitzvah. Av adlaka is a mitzvah. So says the Be'alacha that if it happens b'shas adlaka, you're lighting 4 candles and one of them goes out, then you absolutely should relight it in that case, even though we pass in kovza ein zakukla. But from the Be'alacha we see if it happens after hadlaka, then even if all of the lights go out, then you're not mechuyev to relight. Let's get to Shimon's kasha. Zev, you listening? And that is as follows: the candles were lit, the oil is on, everything is gevaldik yair. It's moedik. If it went out within half an hour, relighting it we don't have to do. What is with the rest of the oil that is inside the cup, the bottle, whatever it is that you're lighting on? So the answer is Shulchan Aruch says Tofresh Ayin Zayin Sif Dalet, it's huktzah lemitzvasai. That means it was set aside. Huktzah lemitzvasai is a lashon we see, it's almost like it's muktzah. Muktzah, by the way, is not only a concept of Shabbos, it's a concept we find many times. By the way, I will tell you a halacha that I believe most women do not know. And that is, or men for that matter as well. Most people do not know this halacha. And that is that when you light candles, when your wife, Mitzvah Hashem, when she lights candles, sorry, you listening? When she lights candles, you, the husband, who have not yet been Makabel Shabbos, are not allowed to move the neighbors. It's not Shabbos to me yet. It's not Shabbos, what's the problem? I decided I don't want it on the dining room table, I want it on the side because I'm going to have a couple more guests. You're not allowed, it's muktzah. Yeah, but I'm not being a couple of Shabbos yet. It's huktzah l'mitzvasai. Shabur brings it down. Not for now, but just an interesting thing that this muktzah applies even during the week. One of those cases, Ya'eh, is right over here, and that is that once I light and it goes out, the rest of the oil in the bottle, candle, glass, whatever it is that you're lighting, is called huktzah l'mitzvasai, and therefore cannot be used for anything else, which means, by the way, for those of you that are familiar with Yeridei, 7 Kuf Yud, or Kuf Beis, whatever, Pasch, both of them, is very simple. That if it gets mixed up with other candles, Tuli, it will not be bottle afilu be'elef. That means that will not be bottle. There's no bittle when it comes to these things, right? Okay, anyway, whatever it is, most people have more oil than they need to light for half an hour. Most people don't have the amount of oil shmol for exactly half an hour of being lit. They have it for much longer than that, which means that after half an hour, if the candles go out, the oil is allowed to be used. You're even allowed to benefit from it, and our Shem and Akasha, I'm allowed to put it out. So the answer is, Shulchan Aruch, when the Ramah brings it Tofrei Shayin Dalet, and that's very simple, that if you need to be able to put it out, for example, let's say you're going out and you're worried that there's taka, a chashash of a fire, or who knows what, or there's kids around, whatever, and you're not going to be there to supervise, then after half an hour share, you are allowed to, number one, benefit from the candles, and number two, to actually put it out if it is. Now the Mishnah Berurah says that you should not benefit from the candles even after half an hour, because people don't know when you lit. So benefiting from the candles you should never do, even after the share. But putting it out, if you need to, then yes, after half an hour. I know personally there are shuls that do that. They light and they only have a minyan, they have no one staying in there, and it's very dangerous, whatever it may be. So they light for half an hour, make sure someone's there for half an hour, and then they put it out, which is fine. There's no problem. Obviously it has to boil, has to be there for half an hour. This is not negayah. What's that?
If there's another minyan, you can make a bracha?
No. Now, staying by the menorah, we'll end with this. We spoke a little bit about it, but I just want to mention the Marmakomis. There's a Makor Chayin, that's from the Chavasyo. The Chavasyo brings down that the Irka Mitzvah, I'm going to get in trouble for that one, is to remain by the Neiros for a minimum of a half an hour to be Mesamer for them. It's not enough. So the Heilige Chavasyo just to light it, Yitzazan, and leave. Ramosha Steinbach brings this in Chuvas Van Hogas, Chelik Aleph Siman Shin Sadi Dalet, where he brings and say, look, you see, over 300 years ago, the Heilige Chavasyo says that the Ikar Zach is to be Mesamer, to be Tzazama with the candles. It's what it is. Like the Shed V'Shorish V'Avodah brings down, right? He was not Hasidish. Ikar Talmud of the Heilige Vilna Gaon, Shmuel, the Heilige Shed V'Shorish V'Avodah brings down that L'chola Pachos, it's roy for a person to be Meir Shirim V'Piyutim, to take Tehillim, to dance, to sing, to be Mesameach, to be Shabbat, to Rabbeinu Shalom, talk about the Nissim and the flies that the Rabbeinu Shalom did for a minimum of half an hour by the Heilige Nes. Tomorrow we shall continue. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.